Hello and welcome to the Klassiki Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Goff. Klassiki is your one-stop shop for the wide world of cinema from Eastern Europe. Subscribers gain access to our library of classic and contemporary films, as well as filmmaker interviews, video introductions, program notes, essays, and more. You can sign up for a 7-day free trial today at klassiki.online. One of the most remarkable debut films of recent years is 1489 by the Armenian artist Shoghakat Vardanyan, which won the top prize at the International Documentary Film Festival Amsterdam last year. In 2020, just before completing his military service, Vardanyan's 21-year-old brother Solomon was sent to the front line of the Second Nagorno-Karabakh War between Armenia and Azerbaijan over disputed territory in the Caucasus. After he went missing a few days later, Shoghakat, who had no prior filmmaking experience, picked up her phone and started recording herself and her parents as they began a gruelling quest for any information they could find about their missing son and brother. She would go on shooting like this for 2 years, and the resulting film is an intimate and devastating portrait of family grief and resilience, as well as a document of a young woman learning to express herself through film in real time. 1489 is screening at London's Institute of Contemporary Arts on Sunday the 8th of December as part of a festival of recent Armenian cinema. Ahead of that screening, I spoke with Shoghakat about the emotional experience of making the film and becoming a celebrated director by accident. You can find tickets for that screening by following the link in the show description. Shoghakat Vardanyan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Sam.
So there's so much to get into with this film and the circumstances around its making, its production. One thing that struck me straight away from the beginning of the film is that we kind of start in the middle of the action, as it were. We witness you kind of taking up the camera and becoming accustomed to it and learning through this act of filming, but we don't see, obviously, the kind of decision, the moment of decision to pick up the camera in the first place. So I just wanted to start whether you could fill us in a little about the immediate kind of context before the film starts, what the process, the decision-making process was. Maybe it wasn't a singular moment that led to this footage that we start to see unfold.
So I never planned to be a filmmaker. I never planned to make a film. I was a classical pianist, but two things happened. One, the emotional state. This everything was happening to me, and I wasn't able to talk about it. It felt like the words went away, and I couldn't describe with words or write it down. And in the same time, I couldn't express myself through music. And so suddenly, film found me, and it felt like the film is the best way to show what is happening. And another thing is more technical thing how it happened is that from the beginning of September of 2020, I started taking journalism course. I just wanted to try something new. But in this course, we didn't have any class for filmmaking. But when my brother went missing on the 7th day of the war, it was the time when we needed to pick up a camera and make some reportage for the first time. I wasn't able to concentrate on my classes. I was searching for my brother. I was going to hospitals to search for him or to ask soldiers who are there who are able to talk if maybe they've seen my brother. But we couldn't find any news. And at that moment, the director of the journalism school and the mobile journalism teacher called me and they suggested me to pick up a phone and stand for camera, put it in my room, and every day when I'm coming back from my brother's search, to sit in front of the phone and tell to the phone how and where I was trying to find my brother. I think they were trying to kind of help me, because there was this moment that I can be out of the school because I couldn't do my classes, and they understood that it will be bad for me, because like this I will be inside of the community and they want to take care of me. I tried what they suggested, but I didn't like it. And on the next day, I took the phone and stand with me to meet friends. And I put it in the cafe, and I was trying to understand how to move the phone, the stand, how it works. And on the third day, I didn't have this phone and stand with me, and I entered my father's studio in the evening. And my father started talking. I felt something, which now, when I'm looking back, I think it is the feeling when you're finding the hero whom you want to film. I brought out my phone, I started filming him, and then when I watched this material in my room, I understood that this is what I need to do. And this is the first scene of the film. And then every day I was understanding more and more what I need to film and how I need to film. Like literally in the process, I was understanding how camera
Mm.
works, how to take a shot, how to be a camera woman, director, then producer, and now also distributor.
Was there a kind of what's the word, like a process of negotiation with your parents at all, by which, because like you say, at first there was this an instinctive, you describe it as like an instinctive response to witnessing your father and his words and his feelings, but after that, was there, did it grow organically, or was it more like a kind of negotiated process? Because it's like they seem so understanding in the film. They seem to react very calmly to the presence of this camera.
So actually, for a long time, I even wasn't aware that I'm making a film.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
some inner feeling was just pushing me to do that, and also later some another thoughts came which were pushing me to do. And in the beginning, when I was filming my parents, my father, it was the first days when it was not that, I mean, we had hope yet that my brother will come back. So he was making sometimes jokes by saying that, "Are you a journalist? Why you are coming after me with the camera?" And my mother didn't let me to film her for a very long time. But and I didn't negotiate. I just continued filming, and they let me to do that. And my understanding is this: that when you really want to film somebody, it doesn't matter if it is your parents or a total stranger.
Mm.
And if they understand that your intentions are pure, and they can feel how much you want to film them, at some point they let you to film them. With my mother, it was later, but I didn't negotiate with her. She just let me to do that.
And I imagine, obviously, they were distracted is too weak a word, but I mean, the whole family, the whole household was so engaged in this other kind of search, this other task, that it probably wasn't actually as intrusive as it might seem for us viewers when we're kind of plunged into that footage.
Yes, and plus, I think if I entered my home with a group of people making
Sure,
film,
sure, yeah.
they would have thrown me out. And in this case, also filming with phone helped. But the main thing is that it was such a tragedy happening with us that they didn't pay attention anymore on camera, and like it was mix of everything what we said.
And how did you, I mean, we see it in the film, but I'm interested from your perspective. How did you witness your parents' attitude towards the camera and towards, I guess, the idea of a kind of performance change over time? Because they do seem to kind of adopt slightly different positions or even kind of tones or personas as the film goes on, which you must have observed in very close detail while you were filming.
So their behavior didn't change because of camera. They were like that how they are. It was their change because of the situation. And I think that again, when you are really like in my case, it helped because I was daughter of my parents, so they wasn't seeing me as somebody stranger who enters their home with a camera. But I think that when you are filming strangers, if you are really like you can get very close to them, let them to trust you, and in that case their behavior will not change because of your you being there with the camera. And all of that change, it was just how they were living, what was happening with us.
You said that you never had any intention to be a filmmaker, and that this initially kind of came out of this response to these events came out of this kind of practice at journalism school, this almost educational practice. But as it became clear to you that this was going to become a kind of ongoing, more long-term project or exercise, like did you find yourself kind of consciously referring to any specific filmmakers or filmmaking style? Was there ever a kind of direct cinematic influence on what you were doing?
So I don't think that my response was because of the journalism school. That's why I'm calling it like technical part. It was because there were like many other students in
Right.
this school, but nobody reacted like I reacted. It was more reaction of artists. And I'm always saying that I think if I didn't watch Jim Jarmusch's films,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't film in a way how I filmed. Because it was like I found out about Jarmusch. I found his films in internet. I never heard about him. I was a music student yet when I found
Mm-hmm.
him, and I was so shocked in a good sense when I saw his films. I never thought that this kind of films can be. Um, and I can see that, for example, that static shots what I have in the film.
Yeah.
Um, but I never thought about that while I was filming. I
Sure,
mean,
sure.
I understood it very much later.
So it wasn't that there was any particular kind of documentary influence on it. It was
No.
unfolding as a kind of like you say, kind of artistic self-expression, and then later you can kind of go back and see certain
Yes, and
influences.
actually, I watched so less documentaries in my life. I never was watching documentaries. I always watch fiction films. I don't know how it happened that I later made a documentary, but yes.
That's interesting because I guess we need to ask the question then: at what point in this ongoing process of you filming your family's lives and experiences, at what point did it occur to you or become clear to you that there might be a kind of rounded out kind of feature film or some kind of final artifact? Like, at what point did it occur to you that you might be able to take what you'd captured and turn it into a kind of single film feature document, however you want to put it?
So there were, I think, two moments. First one was in very beginning when I had this terrible feeling that maybe my brother will not come back. But at that moment, I didn't understand that what I'm doing is a film, but I felt that what I'm doing is very important. And very much later, after 5 months, because my big part of the footage I made in 5 months. And when I stopped filming after these 5 months, I strictly started editing the film. And when I had the rough cut, me with the director of the school decided to invite to school professionals whom we know, about whom we heard, that they watch the film and tell me what is it what I've done.
Mm.
And they watched and they were saying very like different things, but mostly it like they were telling some suggestions what to do, how to edit, that there is no language of the film, it's like it's just a material, etc. But all of that what they told me made me understand that what I did is a film.
Mm.
And that I'm going on the I'm on the right road, and everything what they told didn't like I didn't feel that whatever they are saying I need to do with the film. I did totally the opposite. So actually, this meeting with them was very, very helpful for me to understand many things about the film.
But that
Um,
must have been. I mean, it seems. I'm trying to imagine myself in that position, and it must have been quite a painful or difficult thing to suddenly be confronted with these kind of professional filmic kind of opinions on what you'd never really intended to be a feature film, a feature documentary that would be subjected to that kind of approach in the first place. No, was that difficult for you to have outsiders come in and start kind of picking apart your process when really you'd just been documenting this like traumatic personal experience?
I had that kind of experience actually more later, that and it happened also with European professionals when I was trying to find producers or co-producers. Um, that's why I ended up making this film alone without any professional help. Um, because I didn't like how they were working. They were like they would watch the rough cut just one time and then call on Zoom and immediately tell how editing need to be changed. And they were looking at it as a product which need to be sold, which is on the end fine, because yes, if you want to show the film to people, you need to be able to sell it in different, like which has different meanings, like sell to festivals or sell to TV. But I understood that this because the first thing what they are thinking is to have a product to sell, is not giving them to sing on the film freely, in a sense of art. So I that's why I didn't work with them.
So I'm curious. I mean, what are some of the things you've learned about filmmaking through this experience, from whether that's framing, whether that's editing, whether that's narrative? I mean, what are the things that this very particular, specific, and intimate experience has taught you about this craft that, like you say, you'd never intended to pick up in the first place?
So everything what you see in the film, but during the filming process, I until now I remember how my brain was burning, because while everything was happening, I needed very fast to understand how to take the shot. But in the
Mm.
same time, I was participating in what is happening. I was feeling that I was my I was a daughter and I was a sister. So, and adding to that to be a to hold the camera, it was like really difficult, but in the same time it helped me um, to give the audience at least some parts of through what we were going. And then during the editing time, because I don't know how to use Adobe Premiere until now, I found the editor, and I was sitting with him all the time. I watched the old material a few times, and at first, like we put all the material in the program, we were looking together, and he was like cutting some things. Like first 2 days, I didn't really understand why he's cutting this part and how he's
Mm.
putting them together, but then I understood it very fast, and I was telling where to cut, what to choose, and how put it together. So I learned it very fast. And then another process started, that when I had this rough cut, the next year and a half I was trying to take my brother's bones and send them for DNA analysis in Europe. It would have been the third DNA analysis. First two we did in Armenia, and in the same time I was trying to find producers and co-producers. And in the same time, people were telling me, like Armenians were telling me, that I am killing the film. I need to finish it and send it to festivals. World need to see what happened. Even my first editor said that, like, for him, film is ready and he will not touch it anymore. But my intuition was telling me that film is not done. I didn't know why. I didn't know what will happen, but I was keeping listening my intuition, and that also teached a lot. Like, to stay with your intuition, to do not be scared to think as much as you need, because there is also this thing that professionals will tell that the films have their time, and especially like this kind of
Mm.
topics which are about which are touching some war which happened, can be forgotten very fast, because another war can start somewhere else. But I was taking my time, and I was listening everybody what they are saying. I was talking to people, but if they what they are saying wasn't touching me, I was staying with my opinion after long thought on the things they said. And then when after a year and a half, my brother's third DNA analysis answers came. um, I filmed the last two scenes, and I filmed more. Like, I filmed something like 20 hours, if not more. And when I started filming that last two scenes, like the pre-last scene was the first scene I started filming after a year and a half.
Okay.
I understood that for this I was waiting,
Mm.
that now film will be finished.
I did want to ask if it's okay about those final sequences because they're so powerful and so intimate. Um, Hearing you explain the timeline of the process, I think I get a better sense of it. But and like you say, it sounds like it was very intuitive. Intuition seems to be a very important word for this film as a whole and for the process as a whole. I guess my question about that final sequence where uh, your brother's body, his bones are kind of uncovered, and then we see the beginning of a funeral procession. Was there any sense on your part that it was, I don't know, dangerous or particularly uncomfortable to capture those moments, or did it just seem, I guess, natural or organic that this is where the story had to kind of take us as viewers in the end?
So when I was filming that scenes, when I was filming pre-last scene, I was thinking, am I crazy? Why I'm doing this? And even you can notice in the shots that sometimes my camera is going a bit up and then again down, and
Mm,
it,
yeah.
it was my inner processing. And also I was thinking, should I show the face, and then coming back again because I was like something wouldn't let me to show the faces. But the last scene, I didn't know I mean, I didn't know that. And I'm saying about that in the film as well. We didn't know what we will find there. And it was like total accident that I filmed it,
Mm,
because in Armenia, we have this tradition that women are not participating in some parts of burial ceremonies. Like, for example, women are not going to morgue, or women who are in an age to give a birth, they it's better they do not see um, how people are putting coffin in the ground. Of course, this
okay.
tradition is going away, but it is for women protection, like from the stress. Um, but I told my father that I want to go with him because I wanted to be with him. And then at that moment, I was standing outside because I had some cold, and he suddenly came and tell me, come inside, take the photos. They were showing some samples with the codes, and immediately on the video, but in the same time started taking photos for him. And then they showed us to go inside, and I continued filming. And I think they didn't stop filming because maybe they thought that it is so hard for me that this is helping me, or they maybe thought that I went like I lost my mind, that's why I'm filming. So nobody tell me anything about that, because like normally I don't think you can film in that kind of place.
Right, yeah.
I don't know, it was like again something was pushing me, and it was not only emotion, like it was very obvious that this is the end of the film, and everybody need to see the reality. And all the process of filming, when I was trying to catch the reality, and I was trying to not interrupt the reality with anything artificial, like for example music. This was the logical end of the reality, and I think it was very necessary to be shown.
Yeah, I think I mean, certainly as I can just relate, in my experience as a viewer, it feels natural, organic, as profoundly kind of painful and raw as that moment is. It does feel intuitively, to use that word again, like there wasn't really any other option for the end of the film. I guess my last question would be taking some steps back and taking a slightly wider perspective on the war, on what's happened in Artsakh, Nagorno-Karabakh in the last few years. This is obviously a huge trauma, a huge kind of political event in Armenian society and Armenian life. Your film is, as far as I've seen, one of the most kind of compelling responses, artistic, cinematic responses to it. But what's your feeling about how Armenian culture, film or otherwise, is responding to what's happened in Artsakh and Nagorno Karabakh in the last couple of years?
I didn't really have time to see what other artists are making and doing, just because like I'm all the time with this film, traveling, or I'm doing the distributor's job. I saw some things, of course, some films I noticed this kind of things that this trauma about Artsakh is very, very huge. And we kind of can't get out of it. And it is not only now, it's like after first war as well. And even I think that we can't get out of Armenian genocide trauma as well since
Mm.
1915. And it feels that even with art, we can't really do it. And I don't know what we need to do to get out of it. There are some people, of course, who are touching that stories, telling them, and it is very important. But I still feel that all of us are in that trauma, and ethnic cleansings and genocide is not a one-time event. If it is
Yeah,
happening, it has a lot of consequences, and it is changing the way of the history, and it's affecting like many generations in many aspects. So we need to do really hard work to be able to go through that, through any, I mean, with art or with anything else. Artsakh people, I don't know how they are going to assimilate in any place in the world, including Armenia. They want their homes, so it's a huge problem.
I couldn't really add anything to that, of course. Like you say, this film for you came out of this sense that words or music were not going to be adequate to express what you and your family were going through. And I think there is maybe some hope in there that we can find our way to these means of expression. But of course, as you say, the task of working through these kind of experiences is obviously an ongoing one. But Shoghakat Vardanyan, thank you so much for talking about your experience. It must be still very painful for you to remember and talk through these experiences. And thank you for sharing your film with us.
Thank you very much, Sam, and thank you for your kind words.